Hi, I'm Dana Repp. I'm an adjunct artist with Elements of Education. I teach a class at Fort Nisqually called History Connect for SAMI. What we do there is we teach kids history using hands-on methods. Instead of just reading about it in a book, we try to experience it. Today we're going to be doing a couple of things that are a little out of the ordinary. I have my brother Dave here helping me out.
Hello.
Everyone knows him as Trapper, so you can call him Trapper. Today we're going to show you things like fire starting with flint and steel, and also snare traps, correct?
Yep.
So Dave has been a search and rescue survivalist kind of person for how long have you been doing that? 40, 50 years?
Well, probably 45 years. Probably 45 years.
He used to work search and rescue. He also is an ex-Navy diver, so he's had to have a lot of skills. But he also has been an American Mountain Man, which is a trapper persona that he plays at Fort Nisqually. And he teaches kids to start fires with flint and steel all the time. It's his favorite thing to do. And what is it? Everyone must say.
Not just kids.
Yeah, adults too. But the one thing that every kid or every man or woman or child has to say once they've lit their fire is,
I make them throw their arms up in the air, and if it's a boy, I'm a man and I have created fire. And if it's a girl, I am a woman and I have created fire. And it's the most wonderful thing in the world.
We know that fire starting is a very important element of history and life in general. But we also want to let you know that what we're showing you today is demonstration purposes only, especially when we do the trapping parts. The snare traps, you can trap animals, however, you have to have a license and you have to be in the right hunting season and you have to have permissions and all kinds of great things. So please, this is only for demonstration purposes. I'm not asking you to set these in your backyard or any place else for that matter. What we're demonstrating now is fire starting with flint and steel. Very 19th century, obviously. Not a lot of matches around at that time. One of the things we're using for tinder is for our bird nest is some sisal, right?
Yeah, this is birch bark.
And Dave's working on birch bark right there, which comes from a tree. This is it in the round. It's really dry, it's real papery, it's fabulous for starting fires.
And it has resin in it that really burns hot.
Okay, so we gotta make our little nest here, a little bird's nest. What we're starting with is obviously our flint, which is a type of English flint that we're using. What other hard rocks can we use?
Anything that doesn't crumble when you break it will produce a spark, but
Okay.
This is just the best.
Right. A nice little steel. Dave's got a bigger one because he likes the big beefy ones like this.
Bigger hand.
A bigger hand, that does help. And then the magic piece right here is a piece of char cloth. This is really important. This is cloth that has been treated in the fire in a tin. They basically kind of smoke it until all of the fiber breaks down into a really fine fabric. Almost like ash when I was doing fabric testing a couple of weeks ago. Right?
Well, it's just like making charcoal. It burns it down to carbon.
Okay.
The only thing left is carbon.
Okay.
You can do it with wood. You can do even wet grass and everything. You can cook it in a tin and make char out of it.
All right. So what we're going to try here is starting off with, you place your char cloth on your flint, use your steel, and you're going to make some sparks. My spark is caught. I put it in my little bird nest here. You notice I'm blowing up, not down, because I don't want the smoke.
You always
get in
want
my
the
face.
wind at your back.
It's not really blowing right now.
Might not be a big enough piece of char. Oh, there you go.
Woo! I'm gonna fire.
Take it back. There you go. And of course, you would have all your sticks and kindling all ready to go.
Can we try? Have you tried one with birch bark?
Yes. The one thing too is, just like it's a good way to relate it to food. You have kindling, sticks, and logs. Just like we have carbohydrate or sugar is the kindling, burns hot and fast but doesn't last very long. Carbohydrates are the sticks, burns a little bit longer but not a lot. And then protein are logs. Once you get to protein, it'll burn for a long time. It's a really great way to think about it. And in the beginning, it's kind of like a little baby. You got to treat it gently blow on it gently until she really wants to have some fun. Thank you. Oh.
And we have fire.
You see the black smoke coming off that? That's the resin. Whoops, on my fingers too. That's the resin that doesn't want to go out. That's why birch bark with those oils in it really makes good fire starting.
So before you start a fire, obviously you have to have some safety measures in place. If you are going to be doing fire with flint steel or any kind of fire starting, always have a fire bucket handy. Always do it in a place where there's not a lot of things burning or that can catch fire around you, like a fire pit or even asphalt, just for demonstration purposes like we did earlier. What I do want to show you though is, or have Dave explain, the different elements to making a fire, because you can't just start with flint steel and char cloth and then get things going and hope that your tinder catches. Once it catches, does you no good once it burns out. So this is where we want to show you the rest of those pieces.
One thing too that I would like to explain is all you need are these two guys in the wilderness. Say if you have lighters or matches and you fall down in a creek or fall into the water, they aren't any good anymore. I can throw these in water, dry them off, and I can use them over and over and over again. Okay, so your fire kit, you have your flint and steel, and you have your char cloth, and then you have your tinder. Okay, then you have your sticks.
Kindling,
sticks and logs. And you'll start out, you get your fire going, start using small stuff to build it up more. Then you put these on it, get it a little higher, and then you can start using bigger wood and even bigger wood down the road. But that's just how you have to start out.
So this next section, as you can tell by the little placard cards that preceded this part of the video, is that we are going to be showing you, demonstrating some traps, particularly 2 snare traps. They're very simplistic, so they would be the easiest to show you. It's only one of several different kinds of traps that you can use. There's also used to be used in the 19th century leg hold traps, as well as deadfall traps, which were super popular back in the day. People don't trap much anymore. Occasionally you find trappers up in Canada still, maybe some of the real wooded rural areas here in the United States, but on the whole we don't. Reasons being, we have grocery stores and we have places where we can get food and we don't need to trap in that. However, there are a lot of survivalists that use these skills, or at least like to know them, so that if they're up in the mountains hiking and something happens and they have to fend for themselves, this could help them out. So this is all it is. It's just for you to see and observe. I hope you get a little bit out of it. If anything, definitely hold on to the fire starting skills. Those you will always use. The first trap is an Ojibwe trap for catching birds. The Ojibwe tribe is also known as the Chippewas. They are populated mainly in the North Midwest, like Minnesota and North Dakota area, and on up into Canada, into Ontario and Manitoba area. They are one of the most populated indigenous tribes as of the 21st century. They still had a population of 175,000 people, and they share their skills and a lot of their knowledge from the past with us. They have some great websites, so if you want to look them up, you can. Look up Ojibwe or Chippewa. What kind of trap is this?
Ojibwe bird snare.
So does it actually kill the bird when it catches it?
Nope, catches them by the feet.
Oh, so it just traps them basically and keeps them.
Traps them and holds them.
Okay. Show me how you would go about setting this up, or just walk me through how you set it up.
First, you have the engine, which is a weight. You drill or burn a hole through big enough for your string or wire to go through. Then you have your trigger, which is this right here. And you put your wire through. The trigger, actually just by tension, is holding the wire from collapsing.
And you can use string instead of wire.
You can use any kind of thing you can, but if you use something organic, animals could eat it and bust it. But
So mice would be your enemy in that case.
there's not really bait up here. This is more a trap of opportunity. It's not really a bait trap.
Where would you set this up at?
Open field, especially one that has birds that frequent it.
Okay. And so this is your trigger, the stick right here, this
Yes.
landing stick. Is it in there very tight, or is it kind of loose?
It's designed to be rounded at this end, so it just holds tension, and then the weight of the bird will make it fall, and then the weight falls and pulls the snare tight.
And the snare will trap it by its feet.
Yep.
Can you demonstrate how that's done?
Yep. Hands on it.
Oh no, you're trapped. We're going to start with a new snare called a Johnson snare.
Johnson snare.
Okay. How's that made?
This is a Y branch, and you make a really short point on here and you cut it down so it has kind of a groove, and then whatever kind of wire or line you use, it has to be tied straight through. So you tie it at the top and the bottom so that there's no chance of these slipping off. And this is a strangulation trap.
Ouch.
So
Where would you set this up at?
this is an open field set. However, you can set it anywhere you find a trail. You look in a field for where animals make paths all the time. And the wonder about this is you can stick it in the middle of the field and still set it and still have it be effective.
Really?
You don't have to rely on trees. And it doesn't require much. You can sit around camp and make these all day. Go out and set them at nighttime. Let snares do the work for you. Collect them all in the morning before you move on your way.
So what kind of critters are you after with this type of a strangulation
We're
trap?
after mostly rabbits.
Rabbits. Okay.
Yep.
All right. So how does this work? So that stick there is in the ground.
Okay.
How far?
It's about 9 inches.
Okay.
And again, this is the engine because this is what makes it work. This is the trigger. Okay.
I'm trying to step back a little.
We have a notch down here. And be careful because if it snaps loose, you have to just get it where it's barely hanging on. Oh.
We're asking, we've got traps. You showed us how to make a couple of traps, but obviously setting them up in a place if you're at a trailhead would be smart to know what a trail looks like. So I've asked Trapper to take us out here in the field and show us where there might be some elk trails, because I know there's a lot of elk that run through here. So how do we recognize an animal trail?
Animal trail, it's going to be a heavy worn path, or it's going to be stomped down. You look for evidence of passage, same thing you used to do in search and rescue. Evidence that something has gone through. There's no straight lines in the wilderness, and there's no uneven growth. If it's stomped down, then somebody's using it. And if the elk are using it or deer are using it, it's heavily done.
So he's walked up here, and this is what we want to show you. It's like a little animal freeway. See where all the vegetation is eaten down and not growing anymore, and they're just coming right through here. You can see where things are broken.
In fact, here's some big elk prints right there.
More obvious. You can see it just sweeping down right along here. So you see we're set completely, and we've got our little loop here. The loop would normally be nice and big like this. The rabbit comes through, runs, and then it trips. It would hang him, obviously, but my log's a little heavier than a bunny, and it would hang up from here. They're great for open field, like Dave was telling us, but they're also good for putting at, like with the when we showed you the trailheads there and the different trails. You can actually find trailheads that lead into bushes where animals are using it like a freeway, and you can set one of these up there also to catch them. Well, that's all I have for you this week. Thanks for hanging out with me and learning a little bit about fire starting with flint and steel and some simple snare straps. I hope you have a good week, and we'll see you next time.